Thank you, and good morning, everybody. I'm very excited and privileged to be here to talk to you about the Sparrows Point Container Terminal. My name is Tom Caso, and I'm a vice president with Tradepoint Atlantic on our development team. And when brought the prompt for the meeting today to think about Baltimore in the next 10 years and what that's going to look like, I would be remiss in not taking a step 10 years backwards and thinking about what Sparrows Point looked like when Tradepoint Atlantic started the redevelopment efforts in 2014. So for those of you that don't know, Sparrows Point is an area in southeast Baltimore County that was the former home of the Bethlehem Steel Mill. It was the engine of the industry in Baltimore County for over 100 years, supporting at one time upwards of 30,000 jobs, and at one time was the largest integrated steel mill in the country. As we moved into the 2000s, the story of Sparrows Point is much like that of many other industrial manufacturing areas in the United States, and eventually, after a series of bankruptcy, steel production stopped at Sparrows Point in 2012. In 2014, Tradepoint Atlantic was formed to take over Bethlehem Steel. We purchased it out of bankruptcy and began our redevelopment process. As Senate President Ferguson noted, we had some opportunities and we had some challenges, and we worked to take advantage of both to build a better Baltimore. So part of the concerns at the steel mill were environmental, and we partnered with agencies to address environmental concerns, but also to bring industry back to the region so that we could continue to address any concerns that were there. But there were also opportunities at the steel mill. So one of them, as you can see here on the picture, was a substantial connection to the marine industry at Tradepoint. So we've revitalized that connection, and starting in 2017, when we started welcoming tenants back, we've now redeveloped over 15 million square feet of Class A industrial spaces, and we've welcomed over 45 new tenants back to Tradepoint. And these are long-term commitments with high-level tenants such as Amazon, FedEx, Home Depot, and BMW. In this time, we have grown the region from 0 jobs when we took over in 2014 up to 15,000 folks working at Tradepoint on a daily basis, and over 25,000 people coming to Tradepoint every day, whether that's construction workers, truck drivers, and other folks doing business at the point. So we're very proud of what we've been able to achieve in the past 15 years to transition this from a vacant steel mill with a number of concerns now to a bustling logistics and industrial hub. However, we know that we're not done. We're only about 2/3 of the way through our redevelopment effort at Tradepoint. And as we looked forward to the last third of redevelopment and how we could optimize the redevelopment for the project itself, but also for the region, we took a step back to consider Baltimore and what advantages and what edges Baltimore has in the international economy. And the first one that came to mind was the Port of Baltimore. Baltimore is very unique and has some geographic advantages from a logistics perspective that make it very advantageous to move cargo through. The first is it is the most inland port on the east coast of the United States. In the full logistics chain from point to point, shipping any good, the most efficient leg of that journey is when it's on the vessel, moving with tons of other goods and cargo, and that is the cheapest and most efficient leg of the journey. So to maximize that step, to move as far inland as possible, is a huge advantage for Baltimore. One of the major regions at Baltimore is currently the largest ro-ro import-export hub in the United States. The second is population centers. So we're fortunate in being so close to Washington, D.C., the 7th largest MSA. We're also the closest in rail miles to the major hubs in the Midwest, notably Chicago, the 3rd largest MSA. Now, logistics can be a game of inches, just like football can be a game of inches, as Isaiah Likely is determined to repeatedly prove. So 18 inches separated Baltimore from being able to capitalize on this 20% less rail miles, right, in the Howard Street Tunnel. So because the Howard Street Tunnel was 18 inches too low, we were not able to double stack goods through that rail tunnel, and therefore 20% less miles, but half as efficient due to this 18-inch difference. Luckily, with the federal partnership, Baltimore has been able to remove this constraint from the port, and now starting this year, we're able to double stack boxes to the Midwest. As a result, now Baltimore is the most efficient port to import containers that are going to be moved by rail to the Midwest, which is a massive opportunity for Baltimore. The state currently in the port region is boxes are moving to Norfolk or New York and then going via rail to Chicago. And when the vessel's there in New York or Norfolk, they're putting boxes to a truck and they're trucking them to Baltimore. They're trucking them to DC. That's not going to be the case anymore as we move forward with the Howard Street Tunnel. As we looked at this opportunity, the advantages of Baltimore, and then the opportunity at Tradepoint Atlantic. So you're looking at Coke Point, the Southwest Peninsula at Tradepoint, 330 acres, undeveloped, marine frontage, directly adjacent to our federal Brewerton Channel. This opportunity was recognized by TIL, who's a related company to Mediterranean Shipping Company, the largest shipping company in the world. They approached Tradepoint to partner with us to build a container terminal here at Tradepoint. And there you have the Sparrows Point Container Terminal. So this will be a new, privately funded, ground-up container terminal that will almost double the capacity of the Port of Baltimore to import boxes. So what does this mean? For the project itself, it's over $1 billion of private investment into the port here in Baltimore, and it will directly employ up to 1,100 union employers on site. What does it mean for Tradepoint? Well, for Tradepoint, it means that we're able to ensure a strong future for the nearby residents. We've put a lot of good partnerships in place over 10 years, and those partners will continue to locate here at Tradepoint because of the container terminal and the efficient movement of goods through the port. And what does this mean for the Baltimore region? This project gives us the opportunity to capitalize on our advantages. So currently, Baltimore is 6th on the East Coast in terms of container capacity. This project will take us from 6th up to 3rd, and will move Baltimore into the top tier of ports from a container perspective, where it should be based on its advantages and based on its capabilities. So we're very excited to bring this project to a reality here in Baltimore. We've got some hurdles to overcome, but we're getting very close, and we hope that you all will join us in about 3 years when the first vessel makes its first call here. Thank you, everybody.